Oh my god. I really am not excited by this background. Okay, we need to make an adjustment.
Several location changes later. Did I spend 45 minutes meticulously cutting out every single letter in Photoshop just to make that 3-second SpongeBob reference? Yes, I did.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. And by the most wonderful time of the year, I mean the most stressful, because final season is kicking my ass. Welcome. Welcome to episode 2 of Reading and Realness with Raven. I've been having a hard time. This is my first final season of grad school, and to be fair, the work that has been assigned is very reasonable. I only have 2 final papers for this quarter, a total of about 24 pages of writing. It's not doable. It's doable. That's double negative right here.
I'm just stressed and tired and fighting my own inclination to heavily procrastinate.
It's a struggle. I'm on a struggle bus a little bit. One of those essays is due tomorrow and the other one is due December 7th. Today is December 1st. So I got a lot of work to do. I was inspired last night and I just word vomited 12 pages in an hour and a half of just furious writing. So I have a draft of that paper done and it's about 4 p.m. right now, the day before the paper's due. So my goal is to get as many drafts of it words. So my goal is to crank out as many drafts as this paper and get it as good as possible to turn in for tomorrow. So I do a lot of writing. I'm a PhD student, so I would like to think I have some good tips for cranking out good writing or writing in a pinch. So if you're like me and you have a hard time sitting down to write, I'm gonna give you some tips that will help you just streamline the whole process. I like to set daily goals for myself. So if I have 5 days until a paper is due and the entire paper is 10 pages, I'll say, all right, in the first 4 days, I'm gonna write what's the math? That's a bad number because I can't do math. So say I have a final paper that's 8 pages and is due on Friday and I wanna start on Monday. Monday to Thursday, I wanna get the paper done. So Monday to Thursday, if the paper is 8 pages long, I'm gonna do 2, 4, 6, 8, write 2 pages a day so that I'm spacing it out for myself and I'm not procrastinating and doing the whole thing the night before the paper is due. And write down those daily goals. I think there's some sort of percentage, you're this percentage, whatever it is, I'll find it, more likely to finish a task if you write it down. So write the task down, girl. Write it down. There are these really cute videos on YouTube of people who will just sit and study with you. So you can type in 2 hours of studying or 6 hours of studying if you really have to grind it out. And most of the videos use the Pomodoro method, which is essentially 50 minutes of work and then 10 minutes of rest, and then repeating that cycle over and over again. For me, I easily get distracted when I'm on a Zoom call with people. Even if we're trying to work together, most of the time we'll get distracted and start talking. So I like working with this virtual buddy because it makes me feel more accountable, and having the timer keeps me on the grind. Something else I would suggest, if this is available to you, is to change up the space you are writing and working in. Especially when I'm writing, I need to change up the vibes so that I can still feel creative and motivated. I don't know what it is about being in a different space, but when I'm static and in the same space every day working in the same spot, it inhibits my ability to work as well. I don't know what that's about. Okay, that was kind of more general advice. Let's talk more about some writing specific advice. I would highly suggest that before you start writing the paper, you sit down with your professor or your teacher and you talk about what it is you want to write. It's really great because they can give you some feedback and it'll help you to clarify the scope and topic of your paper. Additionally, if you're taking the initiative to meet with a professor or a teacher and talk about what it is that you want to do, I have found that you're more likely to get a better grade because they see you making an effort to really do a great job. Even if you meet with them and then you still write the paper, the night before and you just cram something out, because you made that effort to see them person to person, which is not something that a lot of people do, it looks good for you. Mooch a little bit. This depends on what your goal is for writing the paper. If you're just trying to get it done, send it in and get a B or higher, or if you don't care about grades, that's also cool. Grades are kind of silly anyways. But if you're trying to, especially at my level in grad school, write something that is good enough that you could consider publishing it later on or use it for some other project later on, or you just want to write a good essay, I would definitely suggest doing multiple drafts. I try to write at least 3 drafts of a paper before I get to the final one. I know something that I often struggle with when it comes to writing a paper is just like,
what the hell do I want to write about?
So I do have a little technique that will help you perhaps figure out what has been interesting to you during the class or the course and how that might translate to a final paper. Let me grab my laptop with the questions. Okay, so here's some questions that you might want to ask yourself when you're thinking of a final paper topic. What are the things that interested you in this class? If you had other writings to submit, like a midterm paper or mini like weekly assignments, what did you choose to comment on? What did you choose to write about? What compelled you? And I find that when I ask myself these questions, there are sort of recurring themes or questions or topics that have been coming up for me throughout the class that are really interesting, and then I can somehow mold those around a final paper topic. Another thing that will help with that process is writing down the readings that you enjoyed most from that semester or quarter. There's nothing worse than writing a final paper on a topic that you like absolutely hate or one that doesn't interest you at all. So I actually like it when professors leave it open and they don't give you a prompt, because then you can just like talk about what you want to talk about, and that's kind of cool. But if you do have some sort of final paper prompt, think about the prompt, think about the question, and then like pick out different readings that you think would accurately answer that question. Pick out the readings from that class that were the most interesting to you, write them down on a paper, and then maybe under each reading, write down like, what is the main takeaway that I got from this reading? What is the main question, the main thing that was interesting? And that will also help to inform what you might want to talk about in your final paper. Over the course of a couple of months in a class, it's not always possible to do every single reading. So if you didn't have the chance to get through every reading during the class and its final seasons and you gotta boogie up now, my suggestion before you start writing is to do all the reading that you need to do. That's not to say go back and read everything that you didn't read for that class, but once you have your list of readings that are interesting to you, whether you read them or not, make sure you go through all of them. If you did a close reading already, take the quotes from that reading that you did and transfer them into a Google Doc. And if you haven't read those things yet, read some of the text and then do the same thing and take those quotes and put them into a Google Doc. I find it super helpful because then when I'm pulling quotes from my paper, because you gotta do the in-text citation moment, then it just makes it easy because all the quotes are right there. And it also helps me to clarify what it is that author is arguing so that I can translate that more clearly to my essay writing. So once you've figured out what questions are interesting to you, you've picked out the readings that are most compelling, and you've gone through them and pulled really helpful quotes, it's time to brainstorm. Once you have all that together, the brainstorm part really shouldn't be too hard because you've already sort of crafted an idea of what's interesting to you and in what direction you want to go. So I'll write out the thesis of the paper at the very top of it, and then sort of organizing around the readings, I'll point out a couple main topics that support the thesis that I presented. The next thing that I do is just word vomit. Everyone has a different writing style, so I'm not saying you have to do things exactly the way that I do, but this is what works for me. I just go in and I word vomit the entire paper. I don't worry about it sounding good. Oftentimes I like curse a lot in my first draft because I feel passionately about what I'm saying. The brainstorming and word vomit part are the most difficult, but once you have something on the page, in my opinion, it's much easier to work with that than to start from scratch. Writing can be really hard, and I definitely recognize that. I know a lot of schools and universities have writing centers where you can go and have someone review your papers or help you to sort of organize your essay. So I would totally recommend using those kinds of resources and finding out if your school or your college has them. Okay, now that I've run through all those tips, let's actually write the essay that I have due. Woo, baby. The air fryer is going, so it's gonna be a little loud. And yes, I am sitting in my sweater like this, the way that you do when you're like literally 3 years old. I've been procrastinating for the last hour and a half. Well, all day really. How am I already so tired? I literally haven't done anything. I was just trying to set up my light to film this, and look what I fucking did.
My mug fell on the ground and broke. Why?
Okay, well, I guess that's what I get for trying to get decent lighting. I'm gonna turn it off because clearly it's cursed. Anyways, hello. It's the next day from when I first started filming this. I just spent the last 12 hours. 12 hours. I'm not exaggerating. I just spent the last 12 hours writing my final paper for one of my classes. Here are all the different drafts of my paper laying on the ground that are just like excessively marked up. I mean, I went in, okay? I went in. That was my first final paper of grad school. I feel amazing. I feel like there are 1,000 pounds that have been lifted off of me. I don't know why I'm so energized because I literally slept for 3 hours last night and I've been working non-stop all day long. I do have another essay due on the 7th. Today is December 2nd, and also my best friend's birthday. Happy birthday, Nina!
I'm delirious. I'm delirious. How do I want to end this video?
No, that is not how I want to end the video. Thanks for watching. I hope this, this was a fun time for you. You got some good studying tips from me yesterday when I was lucid and helpful and thoughtful, and that hopefully you're entertained by me today being a hot mess. All right, bye. What are you doing? Get out of there. Sir.